Welcome back to the Daily Easy English Talk. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious, awe-inspiring, and eerie books in history. It is known as the Codex Gigas, or more famously, the Devil's Bible. Why was this massive book given such a sinister name? What secrets does it hold? And why, after almost 800 years, does it still leave scholars, historians, and even priests baffled? Let's explore together. Part 1. What is the Codex Gigas? The Codex Gigas is a gigantic medieval manuscript created in the early 13th century in a Benedictine monastery in Bohemia, which is now part of the Czech Republic. Codex Gigas literally means giant book. And it's not just a nickname. It's huge. The book is nearly 3 feet tall, about 20 inches wide, and almost 9 inches thick. It weighs around 165 pounds, or about 75 kilograms. That's heavier than most people's luggage when they travel. Inside, the book contains 310 pages made of vellum, which is specially prepared animal skin. Experts believe that at least 160 donkeys or calves would have been needed to produce that much parchment. So this was not a small project. It was monumental. Part 2. What's inside the book? The Codex Gigas is not just one text. It's like a medieval library inside a single book. It includes the entire Latin Bible, the Vulgate translation, ancient historical texts like the Antiquities of the Jews by Josephus, medical works by Hippocrates, encyclopedic knowledge of the time, including calendars, charms, and formulas, a record of the monastery's history. In short, it was meant to be the most complete knowledge book of its age. But what makes it truly mysterious is not only its size or contents, but one shocking image. Part 3. The Devil's Portrait. On one of its most famous pages, there is a full-page illustration of the devil. This alone is why the book became known as the Devil's Bible. The picture shows a massive, horned, clawed devil with a terrifying face. The illustration takes up an entire page, which was highly unusual for medieval manuscripts. Opposite this page, there is an illustration of the heavenly city, creating a dramatic contrast between good and evil. Why was the devil drawn here, so prominently, in the middle of sacred texts? No one really knows. Some say it was meant to remind readers of the dangers of sin. Others believe it was a warning about the devil's influence on human knowledge, but legends suggest something much darker. Part 4. The Legend of the Devil's Pact. According to medieval lore, the Codex Gigas was written by a single monk in just one night. Here's the story. A Benedictine monk broke his vows and committed terrible sins. As punishment, he was sentenced to be walled up alive, a slow and painful death. Desperate to save himself, the monk promised to create a book that would glorify the monastery and contain all human knowledge. He swore he would complete it in one night. As midnight approached, he realized it was impossible. So he made a pact with the devil. In exchange for his soul, The devil helped him finish the book in a single night. As a signature, the monk added the full-page drawing of the devil himself, and thus the Codex Gigas became known as the Devil's Bible. Of course, historians believe this is only a legend, but it's a story that has stuck for centuries. Part 5. The Real Mystery. Who wrote it? Scholars who studied the book noticed something unusual. The handwriting across all 310 pages is perfectly consistent. Same size, same style, no corrections, no changes. That suggests it was written by a single scribe. But here's the shocking part. Experts calculated how long it would take one person to write this entire book. If the monk wrote non-stop, day and night, it would have taken 5 years. But realistically, with illustrations and careful writing, it probably took closer to 20 to 30 years. So, was it really one person who devoted decades of his life to creating this book? Or was there some secret method we don't yet understand? That remains unsolved. Part 6. The Curse of the Codex. Throughout history, the Codex Gigas has been surrounded by stories of curses and misfortune. In the 15th century, it was kept in a monastery in Bohemia. Later, during the 30 Years' War in the 1600s, Swedish forces looted the book and brought it to Stockholm. Not long after, a devastating fire broke out in the royal library. The Codex Gigas was saved, but many believed it brought misfortune with it. Even today, some people claim that the book has a dark presence, that anyone who spends too long studying it risks madness or despair. Is it true or just superstition? No one can say for sure. Part 7. Modern Studies and Theories. In recent decades, researchers have studied the Codex Gigas using ultraviolet light and chemical analysis. They found no signs of forgery or tampering. It truly is one continuous work, likely by one person. The illustrations, including the devil's portrait, match the style of 13th century Bohemia. But the question remains, why? Why dedicate decades of a life to making the largest book ever written by hand? Some scholars suggest it was an attempt to preserve all human knowledge during a time of plague, war, and religious turmoil. Others believe it was a display of power by the monastery, a way to prove their importance in medieval Europe. Whatever the reason, the book remains one of history's greatest enigmas. Part 8. Where is the Codex Gigas now? Today, the Codex Gigas is housed in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm. It is carefully preserved in a climate-controlled room, protected from light and humidity. It is not on public display all the time, but digital scans allow anyone in the world to see its pages online. So, in a way, the Devil's Bible has fulfilled its original mission: to preserve and spread knowledge for centuries. The Codex Gigas is not just a book. It's a monument of human ambition, creativity, and mystery. Whether or not you believe the legend of the Devil's Pact, the fact remains, this book continues to capture our imagination almost 800 years later. So, what do you think? Was the Codex Gigas really created with the devil's help? Or was it simply the life's work of a dedicated monk, trying to leave behind the greatest book ever written? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching the Daily Easy English Talk. And remember, sometimes the greatest mysteries are written on the very pages of history.